Bringing youth together from all around the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed judges, and everyone in this hall today, good morning. My name is Gloria Sisia, and I shall be the first proposer for the motion that has been presented to us today. Is entrepreneurship the solution to youth unemployment in Kenya? First and foremost, I'd like to start by certainly endorsing this motion to its I want to say that I endorse this motion fully. Entrepreneurship is indeed the solution to unemployment in Kenya. First of all, I hope that you're going to take keenly to what I'm going to say. I'd like, first of all, to say that I have been granted 5 minutes of this session to invite all of you to be creative, flexible, and master what I'm going to say. There is a philosopher, an Irishman by the name Richard Gatland, that went on to define what is entrepreneurship. He said entrepreneurship in layman's language, it means identifying a gap in the society and trying to figure out a solution to it. As a nation, which this is Kenya, this being a third world country, it is essential that we take part in building the future generation. Intergenerational equity, we need to look into the gaps in our society and identify them, plan ourselves in how we're going to create jobs for the future generations. Actually, if you take due note of what's currently happening in our country, just to mention the Adani deal, I hope that I'm so sure most of you are privy to that. What is the main issue here is the neocolonialism, our dependency in the European nations. We should take note of this really keenly, because in the next 10 years, we need to determine what is the future of us. Entrepreneurship is one of the integral parts that's going to create jobs, job creativity in this case. I had a member in our midst today was asked, what if the entrepreneur dies? In the concept of an art and an artist. I am an artist, I the entrepreneur, what I'm doing is my art. If I die, my art is going to continue, all right? So just so you should take note of a few things. And then this issue of neocolonialism, when we look at dependency, an employed person is more dependent on the employer, yeah? So it is very essential that we note that we are in efforts to reduce dependency in our country. So one thing we need to take note, we need not be dependent on our employers, because we are, first of all, we have the monthly salaries, they're not in itself essential, enough to run us in our daily activities. You find out that an employed person really depends on the salary that he or she has been given. That amount of money is in itself taxed. Right now, our VAT is running at 17%. If you add all other taxes involved, it goes in total 35%. If you decide to major into entrepreneurship, then you're not limited in the amount of money that you can make at the end of your month. You have the discretion to decide what you're going to do. Entrepreneurship, is it an inborn? Are you born with it, or are you taught in schools? I'm so sure you can all attest to me that you are not taught entrepreneurship in your schools. Most of us have said you do different professions, and that is indeed amazing. However, you being in school doesn't mean you need to get out of here and go and get employed. Go out there, decide what you take in life, identify a gap in the system, and go ahead and nurture the dream. Why? Because we are in efforts to fight poverty. It being a social, an SDG goal, the definition of sustainable development. It means the development that meets the present needs. We are not compromising the ability to meet its future needs. Our country in itself is supporting entrepreneurship through catalytic funding, where the government has set aside funds to assist the businesses that are starting. So that is one thing that you need to take note. Another thing, a Jewish phenomenon, it says that when you bring in the concept of an art and an artist, there's one Jewish person that mentioned, when our entrepreneurs in this generation, all we're trying to do is apprenticeship. Yeah, so this is how the president came up with the new CBC, in efforts to fight unemployment in Kenya. And one thing I can tell you is your employer will not be happy to see you getting a lot of money than he will ever will. So you being employed, you're more of a slave person because you are fixed in a system culturally that is going to make you a slave to your employer. I like to finalize before it falls on me to introduce our second speaker to tell you that this is the time where you need to go out there, discover what's there for you, find your own way, and make a difference because change is inevitable and entrepreneurship is an exchange, give and receive, and that is my call.
Thank you very much for the invitation. All protocol observed, shalom. I'm Ivan Sokumu, a fourth-year student partaking Bachelor of Law LLB at University of Embu. I am the first opposer, and I'm going to oppose the motion, is entrepreneurship the solution to youth unemployment in Kenya? What I urge the audience is be open-minded. I'm going to take you through the facts that I oppose this motion, and I'm also talking as a young small-scale entrepreneur. I've been in these small-scale entrepreneurs, I've tried these entrepreneurs, and I know the barriers to the facts of my opposing. In entrepreneurship, from the layman explanation, and I'm going to use basic communication English so that all of you can get the facts. Entrepreneurship is the process whereby you identify a solution and then you try to expound on this solution so that you can create value out of it. In an effort to curb youth unemployment in Kenya, this is something that the government tried back then in 2006. We are at 2024 and we are still talking about the same thing. The government introduced the Youth Enterprise Development Fund in December 2006. And this fund, the main objective was to try and create capital for the youth to venture into business and be entrepreneurs. But from the report that was recorded by the Kenya Bureau in 2010, this report said that out of the 10 youths that start business, 7 out of 10, the business collapse within the first 3 months of their establishment. And I've also been a victim of the same. Why do I feel that this is not a solution to the youth unemployment? It is because of the current state of our developing country. There are very many barriers that need first to be sorted before we can now venture into this being a solution. And one of the barriers is we need to work on our government regulations. I am for the idea that the government has created so many barriers. You need to register the business, you need to license the business, and then there is a lot of information that you don't know. I started a food business and I was not even aware that I need a health permit, only to be closed down by the kanjos and the health officers, which made me to lose the law. So I feel the government regulation should be worked on first before we can talk about it. The second thing is the youths need to be equipped with the skills to venture into entrepreneurship. That is something the government of Kenya has not taken up to. We have so many youths. Let's say you provide capital. Why are these business collapsing? That thing has to be sorted out first. The second thing is the taxations, the tax. The government has introduced very high taxes on business. You need to pay tax, you need to pay the county through the kanjos, and then the kanjos have been overpowered. They are even more powerful than the police. They can come disrupt your small business, and then there is nowhere you will report. I had started a troll. I had bought a troll to do egg smoky business. My troll was shambled and I've never recovered it. Those are the challenges that we youths are facing as we try to venture into entrepreneurship. So my feeling is this issues should be sorted out first. And as long as they are still not sorted out, at the moment, entrepreneurship cannot be a solution to youth employment in Kenya. And I'm talking with the fact that this issue was introduced in 2006. We are at 2024. All those years, there is no progress. And then this fund only meets approximately 28% of the youth. We have more than 50% that have no clue that this fund exists. So I welcome you to expound on the points, and I will also, I'm honored to allow my extra minutes to go to the second opposer.
So, first of all, no one said entrepreneurship would be easy. It's a process and it takes time. You have to fall and get back up. So, as I begin, this is not something to be happy about personally. There's nothing to be happy about because you realize that 75% of our population, of the youth, are below 35 years old. And you realize that every single year, around 500,000 people to 800,000 youths enter the job market. And you realize that the level of unemployment is around 12%. Only around 12% people get employed. The rest of the people don't get employment. So where do you want to tell me people have to get employment out here? The remaining 88%, where will they get employment if not for entrepreneurship? So as I begin, we understand the faults of the government, or the government is at fault to some degree due to policies or policies failing, but policies are here to be amended. After every 2 years, policies are there to be changed. After every 5 years, we're able to review a particular policy and be able to actually change it. So there are actually some policies which have been put in place by the government, including the Kenya Youth Employment Opportunities Project, the YADF, the Youth Enterprise Development Fund, among others, even the WEZO Fund. And you realize these things are in place, not for us to kick them down, but to actually explore them because they are actual systems that are actually working. For example, the YADF currently has been revamped due to digitalization. You realize that the entire system is digitalized. In instances whereby there is corruption and whatnot, this has been very mitigated in such instances. And you realize that it has been able to give loans of up to 15 billion Kenya shillings to actual entrepreneurs. And you realize that in each and every county, there's a person there's a representative of the YADF, whereby they'll come to you and actually discuss with you, what do you think about this project? What do you think about this project? And if you've already started a particular project, they'll be checking up on you. If you fail, we'll come together and think, how can we revamp this business? How can we make it grow? Because this is something that needs to change, and this is something that is actually changing. So I think they should update their data, actually focus on what is happening in 2024, rather than things that are happening in 2010. Further, I actually believe that the major problem that you actually face in entrepreneurship is the lack of knowledge. The lack of knowledge that the public has, or rather does not have. You realize that how can you aim to start a business and actually don't know how to run a business? This is something that you fail at. The problem is not entrepreneurship. The problem is the lack of knowledge regarding entrepreneurship. If you're given money right now and told, go start a business, you have to research on the business first, and actually understand that business. But you realize that 95% in regards to Kipra actually ran a study on why businesses are failing, or trying to blame policies or not. But they realize that the problem is the disinformation, the lack of information. There's actually a lacuna in that area. And realize that 94% of the businesses are actually failing because of people not knowing how to run a business. So a solution would be, as my co-counsel actually stated, putting in measures in schools to actually educate our children on how to run businesses, how to become better. Because as a society, we've failed in the regard that mnafikirianga ati mtoto akizaliwa huyu anaweza kuwa entrepreneur because of the brains he's been given. As everything else in the world, you have to learn, you have to understand a particular type of business so that you can grow. As I continue, there's this Ajira digital platform, which was actually a policy initiated, and they actually realized that a majority of people in the rural areas do not know how to access this particular information, do not know how to access these particular platforms. And the government currently is actually desensitizing people, actually bringing people together and making them understand how to operate these platforms. So actually, instead of being a prophet of doom or actually looking at the past. I'm actually looking forward and seeing that in the future, things are coming to change, because when you give people information, as we've seen from the strikes that occurred and whatnot, you actually realize that when people have the information, change can occur. I have certain recommendations that are actually being put in place, or are actually policy recommendations, because this platform here is about policies, policies that can actually be used to change entrepreneurship and growth in Kenya. So one is tax incentives for the youth, to actually enable them to, ukipunguziwa tax for a particular business, she'll be more incentivized to pursue that business, And secondly, reducing bureaucratic hurdles. Unaambiwa enda hapa. That particular circle, or that particular motion does not help anyone. So there's the development of one-stop shops. You actually realize that in instances like Huduma Center, they're actually planning on setting up a one-stop shop whereby we'll be helping the youths to actually go there, register a business. And in the instance of YDF, because I'm out of time, you realize that YDF is actually really promoting the youths, and you realize that you can actually get that loan from a period of 2 to 3 weeks, which is as compared to 2010, when it was actually 6 or 7 months. As I conclude, there's this quote that I usually keep at heart that says, the best way to predict the future. What do you think is the best way to predict the future? How do you predict the future if you do not create it? So I urge each and every one of us, be entrepreneurs. Create generational wealth for you and your children. Cindy?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Joki Kahiga, for the Allo student, and I stand before you today to talk about this motion. First of all, this entrepreneurship notion, whatever my fellow learned friends are trying to tell you today, it's like a person who doesn't know how to swim and then go tell them, get into the ocean, in a few moments I'll bring you the life jacket. That's what you're telling the youth right now. Venture into entrepreneurship. When you venture into it, we are going to provide better policies. We are going to make sure that the venture will be smooth. That's what we are telling the entrepreneurs right now. But what I'm about to illustrate to you is that while entrepreneurship can be a part of the solution to youth unemployment, it's not a palace. It's not easy. It has to be taken as a multifaceted approach. There are so many things to consider before you tell a youth to venture into entrepreneurship. There are very many barriers, and what we need to do is, first of all, let's work on the barriers to entrepreneurship. And there are so many. I'll be pointing out to you some of the barriers in entrepreneurship, which is making it hard and which is making it not viable right now. The first one, the most obvious one, lack of access to capital. Right now, the only way we think that we can access capital is through banks. Banks require collateral. Many youths, I don't know if there's anyone with a title deed here or a logbook. Banks require collateral, where there's a youth somewhere with a very big idea. They want to start it, but they don't have the capital to fund their idea. The next one, I want to tell you that it's not banks that can fund youths. The government has put up programs to fund youths. The main one is the MSEA program. But I want to show you how the government, even though they are creating this program, they are keeping the money to themselves. Although it is not practical, it's not yet working. The budget summary of 2024-2025, page 64, paragraph 82, the government proposed an allocation of 200 million for the Youth Enterprise Development Fund, 200 million. And then they proposed 5 billion for the Hustler Fund program. I believe every one of you received 500. Now, how do you want me to fund an idea with 500 or 700? That's so ironical. And then the government also proposed a 1.95 billion to rural Kenya financial industry fund. But I talked to one of my friends. I know that he has sent requests to fund his idea. He's in the milk industry. He makes yogurt, he makes cheese, he makes all those things. But he has sent registrations to MSEA, Uwezo Fund, all those programs, but nothing is happening. So there are so many barriers. And what do? I thank Kektil for, let's try and help the youth get to that funding. The next one, that's just one of the barriers. The next one, economic instability. Our economic environment as Kenyans is very unstable right now. So, the main one, price fluctuations. I want to give you an example of my uncle. He's my uncle, but he's very young. You remember in the past few months, onions, 1 kg, it was about 200 per kg. So my uncle decided, why not? This is a very good idea. He went on and planted a whole acre of onions, 2 lorries of onions, and they grew up. But right now, onions, 1 kg is 30 shillings. Is he at a loss or is he not at a loss? At a very huge loss. What we need is the government needs to, and I want to put it onto you, there's a Price Control Essential Goods Act, but the act only provides for essential commodities. I think there are 5: maize, wheat, rice, and sugar. Those are the only products that have been named as essential commodities. Those are the only products that the government can fix a maximum or a minimum price for. The rest of the farmers, the rest of the people, figure yourself in the business. So we need to acknowledge this price control thing. So another barrier is lack of regulatory support. I believe all of you have seen this coming out here, and I believe the government is seeing it also. Many people are posting themselves to be funding people, but they are scammers. And when you turn on any TV station right now, you'll hear, send 50 bob, you receive 40,000 shillings. And the government is live to it, but they are doing nothing to it. Now, how do you expect youth to survive in such kind of an environment? Before you tell a youth to venture into something, create an environment that they can survive in. And this is not a thing that is, entrepreneurship problem is not in Kenya alone, it's all over the world. The UN has talked about it, Saudi Arabia Youth Program has talked about it. We need, thank you so much. Before you tell someone to swim, give them a life jacket before they get into the water. Don't tell them that you'll give them the right jacket after they get into the water. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, our esteemed judges, my name is Vikilena Modoni, a first-year law student. And I'm going to support the motion that indeed entrepreneurship is the solution to youth unemployment in Kenya. And due to this belief, I am going to heavily stress on the fact that whatever my colleague just said earlier, that the best way to predict the future is by actually creating one. So from what I have heard from what our opposers have just said, they're majorly talking about the barriers, but I want us to actually understand that there is not, I want us to actually understand that indeed there is nothing easy. Entrepreneurship is not easy indeed. And yes, there are barriers, but I believe that the government has come up with various ways of curbing these barriers. For example, the Youth Enterprise Development Fund, for example, the first speaker was talking about the fact that there is lack to access of capital. So from the recent data, there has been digitalization in the Youth Development Fund, where it has revamped the system by granting people loans of up to 15 billion shillings. So I believe that the sector of lack of access to capital has been solved on that. And this one, for those who are not aware of this Youth Enterprise Development Fund, I believe nowadays there is social media. A very high percentage of us as youths nowadays, because I believe a youth is you and me. According to article 260 of the Kenyan Constitution, it says that a youth is anyone aged between the age of 18 years to 34 years. So I believe that nowadays communication is not much of a barrier, because from the recent revolution, from the current revolution actually, we have seen that social media has played such a huge role in sensitization of people regarding whatever is going on in the country. So I believe that social media can be used as a platform to educate people on the Youth Enterprise Development Fund. And also, the government has tried through the Hustler Fund, for example, by giving people the Hustler Fund to start their businesses. And the government is also catalyzing young businesses by providing the catalytic funding. And also the CBC, the CBC curriculum, it is in fact, okay, for those who have younger siblings, this CBC is impacting knowledge on things that you're actually interested in. And come to think of someone who has their own business, someone who is their own boss, and someone who is employed, the person who is their own boss has the opportunity to be doing something that they actually like, something that is actually generating money. So the CBC curriculum is giving our learners that opportunity. And the employed people work for money, but for the entrepreneurs, they let money work for them, literally. So for banks and other financial institutions, they are tailoring loan packages for youth entrepreneurs. So my question to our opposers is that if we keep on talking about the barriers, then what is the solution if not entrepreneurship? If not entrepreneurship, what solution do you have to youth unemployment in Kenya? So I believe that for you to create your own future, you have to actually predict it. And you have to actually predict it by starting your own business right now. Do not major on the barriers majorly, because you have the opportunity of curbing these challenges. As we've seen, the government is doing that. You yourself, you're doing that. So I believe that my time is almost up, and I'm going to leave you guys with this question. If not entrepreneurship, then what else is the solution? If only I had more time, I would have delved deeper into history, where the government has really tried of coming up with other ways of curbing unemployment which have failed. But due to time factor, I will not be able to do that. But again, if not entrepreneurship, then what is the solution? Thank you.
All protocols observed. Good morning. My name is Dorcas, and I shall be rebutting the arguments of the proposers. First of all, you say that entrepreneurship provides the youth with financial independence and job creativity. On the point of financial independence, statistics have shown that most of the new businesses, the entrepreneurship, they fail. These startups fail within the first 4 months. So the probability of this youth to see their businesses through, to get the long-term, to sustain their businesses in the long term is very low. So in the end, this creates financial insecurity. It creates job insecurities for all these youths. And you also say that it gives them job creativity. Yes, it does give them job creativity. They get to do what they want. But the thing is, how do you deal with the market saturation? Most of these youths, they seek to solve the problems in their communities. And sometimes you get youths that venture into the same businesses, and then you find there's so many businesses of the same sort, and it ends up worsening the conditions rather than improving them. And in the end, these youths, they end up suffering rather than getting a solution to their problems. And also, entrepreneurship is not a universal solution. We may come here and say that entrepreneurship will help the youth, but how many youths exactly want or have the drive to start their own businesses? That is a problem. So there's only a small percentage, or rather a lesser percentage that has the drive, that has the vision to start their own businesses. You also pointed out that the government provides funds for youths, but these funds only cater to approximately 15% of the youths. What do you tell the 85% that don't have access to this capital? And let's say this 15% gets the funds. There's also the issue of corruption. There's also the issue of bureaucratic red tape. These youths, they're being offered these funds, but before they get to starting their own businesses, before they get through all this red tape to actually doing the thing, you find out that most of them are discouraged, most of them, they've given up, most of them, they don't even get the funds. Yes, they're being told you'll get the funds, but they don't have a way but at the end of the day, they don't get the funds. So they still don't have the capital to start their own businesses. You also, despite the fact we're not refusing that entrepreneurship can solve our problems, but right now, like in this day and age, it is not a viable solution. You say that we're giving you the issues that are barring entrepreneurship, but what we're saying is that first deal with the issues and then tell us to go into entrepreneurship. It is not practical to tell us to get into it and then you don't give us the tools that we need to actually succeed. Because at the end of the day, say you get the funds, you get the loans from the banks and all that, say you have collateral, and even if we say this, most youths do not have collateral. So at the end of the day, you find youths, they took loans, they have all these things, and they say, yes, I have my own company, I'm the CEO of my own company, but then you wait for the other shoe to drop. They say within 5 years, I was so into debt, I didn't know what to do. You find, yes, they say, I had my own company, but now they're filing for bankruptcy. Their credit score is so bad they can't even get employment anymore. So it's like you get one or the other. So before you tell us to venture into entrepreneurship, before you tell us that this is a solution to our problems, we ask that you give us the tools. You ask we're not saying it's easy, we're not asking for an easy way, we're just saying it is not a solution, it is not a viable solution to the problems we have right now. And most of the youths they're not empowered enough, they do not have the opportunity to venture into entrepreneurship. And as one of the proposers said, very eloquently put it, many youths are not educated enough to get into entrepreneurship. Many youths do not have the knowledge, they do not have the tools to get into it. What are you telling them? You're telling them we will educate you. You have your empowerment, you have your innovation, and we will educate you in the future. Before you get to educating them, they've already failed. And most of us know that after you failed, the drive, the want to start again, it is not easy. It is not easy to start after that. So find a way for entrepreneurship to work, because at the moment, it does not. Thank you.
History is more than a path created by the past. It influences the future and can shape the present. If the Vikings knew this by the time they were arriving at the shores of then what would become the United States, they could have done better. They could have said, instead of thinking about how salty or not the milk was, they could have focused on doing more things that would boost entrepreneurship, and they would count at some point. Though there is cure. Columbus came and told them that it is only the politicians who have perfected in the art of coming late and still claiming all the credit. Before then, we are told by our old folks at the village that the right time to begin something was yesterday. But since you didn't do it yesterday, you can do it today. My friends here have argued intermittently on the issue of policies. Policies are in place, but the policies are made for the youth, not for us. They are made for the youth, but what is remaining that the youth should take part in the policies by universities trying to give us the facilities to be able to make these policies so that the Kenya we want of our youth population, which is not jobless, can be achieved. They say, give a man fish, feed him for 1 day. Give him basic training on fishing, and feed him for the rest of his life. Entrepreneurship is somehow the bridge between intergenerational wealth and intergenerational poverty. I have somehow heard from somewhere, from the Senate, when he was tabling a report from the CS Labor, tabling a report saying that the government of Kenya has been on a spree searching for jobs for the Kenyans. But the 60% of the tabled report, 60% from the tabled report were that the jobs that had been acquired were house helps, the jobs of housemaids in Saudi Arabia and Middle East. The only way to curb the rising trend of joblessness is entrepreneurship. At entrepreneurship stands a monument. At the end is a fairy tale, the youth. An old folk once told me that if a crocodile comes from the river, I'm winding up, comes from the river and tells you that the hippo is sick, you are bound to believe it because it knows the challenges of the river and knows the challenges of the hippo. So it should know the words entrepreneurship and the youth are inseparable. And from the foregoing, I see like entrepreneurship is one of the factors of production. There are three, but I would like to add one. Entrepreneurship is one of them. They are land, capital, and labor, but entrepreneurship is actually one of them. I would like, as I went up, I fully endorse the motion. Thank you.
All protocols observed. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Good afternoon once more. Much has been said by my colleagues, both on the proposer side and the opposer side. But on my side, I want to say that in as much as entrepreneurship has been touted as a solution to solving the problem that we have in Kenya, which is youth unemployment, it is not that all. Kindly open your mind. Out there, there is a lot more than entrepreneurship. There are different jobs and employment. And you have seen that there are many barriers to entrepreneurship. In as much as all of you want to maybe pursue entrepreneurship, there are a lot of barriers. First of all, we have the limited access to capital, which is the major problem that most youth are facing. Our graduates just graduated this week, and many are expecting to have job employment, but that is not the case because many are looking for the white-collar jobs, but they are not there. But also entrepreneurship is not one of them because without that capital, you cannot be able to start, which is a very major issue when you are starting entrepreneurship. Secondly, we also have the infrastructure and support system. The government, most particularly, has not offered any support. My colleagues have been saying that, one of our colleagues has said that the government gave out 15 billion. By a show of hand, has any one of you received any amount of that money? No one. So that's why we are stressing out that entrepreneurship is not the best solution to solve the job employment that we have. We also have the we have, as a third world country, we are still developing. So right now, I cannot say that entrepreneurship is that effective in our country. It is not that effective in our country, so I will advise you to seek other paths. And I have some few recommendations where we have, first of all, we have to fix the education system. Even though we have introduced the CBC also has some few challenges here and there that need to be solved so that we can make our students more business oriented, so that we can say that now entrepreneurship is something that is working in our country. But as for now, I cannot advise any youth as for now to pursue entrepreneurship. Secondly, we have the addressing the systematic barriers, which will start with the government, but that is a very wide aspect when you start saying about the government that. But just stressing out, address the systematic issue. We also have to provide support for the various employment paths that we have and opportunities, creating opportunities. And I also have to say you should be very creative out there. So as our proposers are saying that we should go for entrepreneurship, kindly prepare us the way, like just the way John the Baptist prepared the way for the coming of Jesus. Thank you.
Hearty round of applause to the debaters. When they said world-class university, they meant it. If this is the sample size, woe unto people who meet Embu University graduates. Round of applause again for the debaters. Now, we're going to have questions to the debaters. I'd like you as the audience to have questions to the debaters, okay? You can choose. I'll have one question from the proposer side, and I'll have one question to the opposer side, okay?
Thank you. I think it's afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Caleb. I'm Odhiambo. My question is that the debate that we have, to a point, I feel it is biased to the floor. That all the debaters are lawyers. We are talking and we are working on different sectors. How come you are only giving lawyers to debate? Where is the knowledge from School of Business? Where is knowledge from School of Energy sector? I think, to my own assessment, the result we are going to have is biased, and I blame the country for corruption. Thank you.
Comrades Ria, Comrades Power.
All protocols observed. My name is Elizabeth Moini from School of Education and Social Sciences, pursuing Bachelor of Arts in Criminology. My question is the proposing side.
Yes.
So this point they've kept on repeating more than 3 times. Yeah. So they've suggested that there are several organizations promoting youth entrepreneurship by providing funds. So my question is, do you have any evidence of a youth who has been supported from zero to the point the business has grown by any of these organizations? My second question is, the process of being given the funds is very long, to the point that you just give up because the requirements are too much. It's like they put so many requirements to make you lose hope. So the organizations are just there to be seen, not to provide solutions. Thank you.
Okay, I believe we're here to bring those solutions to life. The reason we have such platforms is to bring such ideas to life. And in instances like Uwezo Fund has been working, as my opposers, or as my fellow opposers also have that analogy. It's actually working. And the youth, that fund is actually really working. In the instance where we have Kilifi, where they brought rehab facilities, someone came up with that idea. The YEDF actually empowered that facility. We actually have people being rehabilitated, people going back to the community and actually being entrepreneurs.
Also, something else, the question, do we know of someone who has been assisted from their starting to their ending? Okay, you see, this is the main problem that's facing our country. We want the society, we want the government to help you. Why are you so dependent on the government, okay? So you shouldn't be so dependent on the government. There are so many ways you can get money, and we all know that when you start something, it's always gonna be hurdles. So you take the first step, the first 3 years before you grow. You cannot expect to succeed by being so dependent.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm Wanda Brian. I'm an agriculturist, and I want to ask the opposers a question. They have been saying that the problem with the entrepreneurship is lack of capital. As an agriculturist, you can start entrepreneurship from where you are. You can, all of us here, we love flowers. For example, we live in areas where flowers have been grown. Let's think of, instead of growing flowers everywhere, starting an entrepreneurship of planting things like tomatoes. Tomatoes are going to decorate the compound, and you are going to benefit from both the environment will look good and you will still benefit by selling the tomatoes. So I don't think that it is only capital can give you. It is only capital can allow you to start an entrepreneurship. So I need clarification on that. Okay.
Thank you so much for your question. Yeah, I agree that from the agricultural world, you can start from where you are. But my friend, you've talked about tomatoes. Tomatoes at some few months ago, and kg was 70, 80, but right now, due to lack of a regulatory framework protecting a farmer like you, tomatoes right now, a kg is 15 bob. Now, what do you tell such an entrepreneur? They started up an entrepreneur idea, I can go rich through planting tomatoes, but the government has not regulated this. They have not declared tomatoes as an essential commodity. So the market can decide the price. You can plant your tomatoes today, thinking that you'll sell a kg at 70, but when they are ready, you'll sell them at 15 shillings because the government has not provided an environment for you where you can thrive. Thank you.
You guys are going bad for bad.
So good afternoon. My name is Collins Kadioki. So I stand here as a student from School of Business and Economics, as well as the main lead of Heartflies Foundation. So first of all, I would also like to say that debate is biased because we did not get other people from other schools of business and economics and agriculture. Now, I have a question for that side. So the guy on the other side, you said that most of the businesses that start, they did not succeed in the 3 months, okay? So you gave us those statistics. So now give us the statistics of the businesses that succeed. Number 2, we want to know which motion are you opposing? Are you opposing that entrepreneurship is easy, or are you opposing entrepreneurship is the solution? Number 3, now give us the solutions to stimulate Africa Agenda 2063, Africa Free Trade Area and Vision, Kenya Vision 2030. So you just point out the solutions that you are giving us, the alternative solution to entrepreneurship. Okay? Yeah. So just give us the solutions, because it seems that you are criticizing something that you are not giving. You are not giving an alternative solution to. Thank you.
Thank you, my colleague, for that question. First of all, I would like to make it clear to you that I was opposing entrepreneurship being a solution to youth employment as per now. I'm not opposing that entrepreneurship cannot be a solution. You see? So what I'm opposing is, as currently, the current state of our country, entrepreneurship is not a solution to youth unemployment. And I said the factors that we were critiquing, if they are worked out and solved, then this entrepreneurship can indeed, in fact, entrepreneurship has worked in developed countries like USA, like Britain. You find youths even at 19, they have managed to bring up a company. What is happening in third world, the developing countries, is we have so many barriers, and these barriers is what we were highlighting to you. When I told you that majority of the youth business, according to the Kenya Bureau of Statistics, is that they fail, is because of these barriers that we were hindering them out to you. And I told you, if the government can only provide enough capital, if the government can only equip us with skills, I like what is happening in the CBC. You find the CBC, a grade 3 student is being told how to welcome customers. A grade 2 student is being told how to venture in business. Our current education system has not done that to us. Personally, I ventured and I never had these skills and I couldn't manage my capital, and according to the statistics, this has been a problem to the youth. If we solve this, then surely entrepreneurship will be a big solution. Thank you.
So I'm Martha, I'm a teacher by profession. So my question is, or my contribution, a question but still a contribution. Now as I'm a profession, I'm a teacher, so when we talk of entrepreneurship, where do we leave professions? Teaching, law, doctors in medicine and all other professions that we've joined college to study. And if I'm a professional as a teacher, I venture or I have opportunity to venture into entrepreneurship, do you think there will be an issue of conflict of interest? As a teacher, who are the people, if I venture into entrepreneurship in my profession as a teacher, I do some entrepreneurship related to teaching. I think or I feel I'll have that conflict of interest. How can I want my clientele to be students, in quotes, and my mind is entrepreneur. Yani mimi nataka kufanya biashara, lakini nitasaidia aje wenye wanataka kuingia kwa hiyo professional ya teaching. So I feel entrepreneurship will in a way bring a conflict of interest. Pia kuna zile tunaambiwa, kuna zile professions huwezi, I think watu wa law wako na idea like if you are in this profession au kutakuwa na hiyo conflict of interest ukitaka ku entrepreneur a thing related to your profession. That's my question and point.
Thank you for your question. I believe I'm going to answer the question of where do we leave professions. So first of all, let us first of all begin by understanding the motion. The motion is entrepreneurship the solution to unemployment in Kenya? So for us to actually figure out whether entrepreneurship is the solution or not, that means that we have run out of choices. So professions have always been there, they are there, they have always been there, just that just that they do not serve as the solution. If professions, for example, teaching or any other professions, if they were the solutions, and then I believe we could not be talking about the issue of entrepreneurship then. So this one, we're actually trying to figure out a solution to unemployment. And so my point is, the professions are there, they have always been there, just that we're actually trying to figure out a way of curbing unemployment issue in the country.
Standing together, united, divided, we fall.